Привет из России! Okay, this video is all about Masterclub tracks. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so Masterclub tracks. In case you don't know what we're talking about aftermarket tracks in white metal. White metal is easily like a low temperature casting metal, lead based or something. It used to be what you made these little metal soldiers from. Anyways, Fruil are quite well known, and there's quite a few manufacturers similar to Fruil. This is not about what's better, what's worse. It's just about Masterclub and how to assemble them, paint them, weather them, and also we're going to talk about the differences between these more traditional links, the Fruils versus the Masterclubs. In terms of availability, the Masterclub have got a website. Have a look at it. It's not exactly the best website, but it does show their range. These also, I would say, they're not as popular, as in they're not as good as. They're just sometimes a little bit more difficult to find than Fruils. That's just the way it seems to be. Myself, I've bought Masterclub. I've ordered them in Russia. I've bought them in the UK. I've ordered them from Hong Kong. You can get hold of them. Just look around. I'll probably link up some sites to find them. Also, in no way am I sponsored by Masterclub. This is just simply if you're interested in using them. Okay, now a big difference between the Fruils, which you may or may not be familiar with, is to do with the assembly and also the casting. With Fruil tracks, basically the procedure involves you drilling out nearly every single link to actually clean out the holes, yeah, and it is quite a long job to do, but the castings themselves, and I'll show you in close-up in macro, are really excellent. So in terms of preparation, these take a lot longer to assemble. Also, the assembly differs, and this is the big difference, in that these ones are assembled with wire to attach them together, and all of these sets, the new metal Masterclub sets, are linked together with very small resin pins. These are actually like representing track pins, nearly like real tank tracks. So there's a big difference there between them, and also that affects other things. Now, in terms of price, pretty similar, actually, pretty similar. Now, the other difference as well, of course, is because you've got these different materials, that affects the way that you weather them as well. Now, you may have seen people using the burnishing fluids, and I've used it in the past as well. The Fruils are really well suited to burnishing. The white metal components of the Masterclub tracks are also extremely well suited to burnishing. However, the pins won't degrade when you burnish them, except they just will not be weathered. So just bear that in mind. But we're going to look at a different way. We're going to just do a very standard weathering procedure, an easier weathering procedure that is applicable to Masterclub tracks and the Fruil ones as well. What else can we say about differences? Well, time to assemble and the assembly method is going to be a little bit quicker with Masterclub. It's just the way it is, because you don't need to drill out. You'll find out that all the holes basically are all pre-drilled, and I'll show you and I'll explain all the assembly steps a lot quicker to assemble. Also, with Masterclub as well, and I don't think Fruil have any sets like this. You can get other sets that contain not only the white metal track links, but this is an example. You can also get resin track pads as well, but we're not going to assemble these. We're going to assemble the more standard all white metal tracks, and and just use the resin track pins. Just read what it says here. This is we're going to use these incorporated in one of my builds. This is for the 2S3 Acacia. We're going to use it on our Krug build. 240 track links, 480 track pins. The diameter of the holes is 0.6. Tracks are fully workable, no glue required. Well, we're going to come on to that a little bit, because that's another feature of these tracks, as I found out, and I've used these many times, is that these can be a little bit more delicate. The track pins can slip out, as when you assemble with the Fruil ones. Fruil ones are solid because you super glue them. So we're going to do a variation on that. Now also, I think I'm just going to, let's go into the macro, and I'll just show you the differences between how Fruil looks and how these Masterclub tracks look. Okay, so as I was saying, comparison between Fruils and Masterclub. You really can't see at this distance the difference. Let's go into macro. These are BMP2 tracks. These are Fruil T34 tracks. Let's have a look close up and find out what's better. Okay, looking at the BMP2, this is the side of the links. Just have a look at them, see what your thoughts are, what your opinions are, and then we'll have a look at the side of the T34. Okay, there we go. Here's the T34 cleats. Look at the side, you can see the pins protrude a little bit out the side. Let's have a look at the front face of these tracks. There we are, there's the T34. Fruil tracks. And finally, here is the face of the Masterclub resin pin tracks. I hope you have reached the same conclusion as me, in that there is no noticeable difference in quality between these metal tracks. That's the only reason I showed you that example. Okay, this is not about what's better in terms of final appearance. Fruils are equally as good as Masterclubs. But anyways, let's go on to construction of Masterclub tracks. Okay, let's open up the box and I'll show you what's inside. Not very exciting, but this is what you get. One big bag, and it contains the white metal links, and within that Ziploc bag another one with the resin track pins. Now and again you'll find a few of them that are deformed and defective. That's just the way it is with the white metal casting. But generally you're going to find every single one of these is very clean and very easy to assemble. So let's go straight away into some assembly tips. I think it's worthy to mention that as well, that really there isn't the alternative of using wire to assemble these tracks. So the resin pins are essential, and therefore it's very important that we don't lose them, as they're very small, as you can see. So what I tend to use is a plastic bowl, and what I do is I empty out quite a lot of the track pins, seal up the bag. Okay, wish me luck, as I hope this stays in focus. Let's break down this construction step into two parts. First part is to take the links and sort of mesh them together, and sometimes you have to wiggle them, sometimes you need to sort of distort them a little bit, but that's the first thing to do. Line them up. Now let's go on to the second part. Part two, pins, picking them up. You can use tweezers. I just do not recommend it. I find that these things just ping away, zip away, whatever. I'm going to show you an alternative method. This is my method, my finger. Pick up the pin like so, fixing the pin using fingers. There we are, the pin's placed in, and as I said, I just use gentle finger pressure and just a little bit of manipulation until she slots in. Repeat on the other side, she's done. Let me show you another method. Okay guys, what you're looking at here is the bare patented Masterclub pin pickup device, or it could be a toothpick with a bit of Patafix on the end. Up to you to decide where it is. Okay, yeah. So if you've got, like, I've got small hands, small fingers, so I appreciate that. But just use the Patafix to pick up the pins. You've got it on the end there, and then we can offer it up to fit into the link again. Okay, so with the Patafix sort of holding it, the pin, just gently manipulate it into position, drop it, go back to fingers, start manipulating and push it in. Anyways, you get the idea. This will help you pick up the pin. Okay, I don't say it's perfect. I use my fingers, I just find it the best way. Let's get on with this. Okay, just some brief construction notes on building up these track runs. I tend to work in pairs, building up pairs and pairs and pairs. Pairs go into 10s, 10s goes into 20s, then 20s construct the runs of tracks. Why am I doing that? I just find it a lot easier to manipulate the construction of them in pairs, just in terms of joining them. They just seem to be easier to join like so. Also, if you're unfortunate enough to break one of the pins during construction, you've only got 2 to deal with at a time. When they're really, really long, they get a little bit, well, you know, a little bit more awkward to handle. Okay, the other thing also about these, now and again, you're going to have bits of flash as well on some of the parts. Get a file, diamond file, or just normal file, or even sandpaper, and you can just remove some of the flash from the parts. The other thing about construction is it's tedious, it's long, it's boring. There's no way around that. Also, your hands get very tired, because the big difference between Fruils is, with Fruils, once you've done all that drilling, the assembly with the wire is really quick. With these ones, you have to manipulate them quite a bit, and because they're soft metal, you end up sort of bending and flexing and moving them, and then you get sore fingers, your hands get tired. It's just the way it is. How long did it take to build this? Okay, now I've gone off the instructions from the Trumpeter kit, and I've got 113 runs to do. 113 links per side rather, okay? So at the moment you're looking at, this is 80, and then this is another 20. I've still got another 23 I think to do, or 26 to do. To get up to this stage, I've done it over 2 sessions, and I think the first session I spent about 2.5 hours, and this morning as well I've spent maybe about 2 hours. So it's taken about 4.5 hours, in total 5 hours. Considerably shorter time than constructing Fruils. Fruils take a really, really long time. I would say easily double that, because of the amount of time you need to spend drilling out the links. I can guarantee there's only absolutely 1 link that I've had that has been flashed over and that I wasn't able to construct. I've not had to use a drill whatsoever to clean any of these links, but you do just need to manipulate them and get into it. Okay, I'll show you in the next bit how you sort of roughly measure out the track links, and then we can get on to some more exciting stuff. Okay, at this stage it's best to do like a dry assembly of the tracks, just to see if you've got the approximate correct amount of links. Okay, so I sort of dry fit the track. It starts to come apart. This is a disadvantage with this Masterclub type of track. Sometimes it just starts to fall apart because the pins are too loose. Mostly they fit in pretty firmly and it doesn't fall apart, but I've had this problem previously and it's frustrating as hell, to be honest. Now, besides that, I'll super glue in pins. It's just that they're just a bit too loose, and so in 1 or 2 sections, but it looks as if I need at least another 2 or 3 links here to get this to fit. So I'll add them in and then we'll get on to the next part. The other thing I recommend that you do is take a rolled wheel and make sure that the fit down the guide horns is okay. Just roll it down. You'll be able to tell quickly if the fit is good or otherwise. I have had it before on the BMP tracks where basically the wheels just sort of floated up, but that had double guide horns. In this case, okay. The other thing as well, check your drive sprocket. Make sure that the fit around it is good. These are really well, it seems as if it's even designed for the Trumpeter kit, but as you can see that the fit there is pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good actually. Okay, I'm trying something new. This is an experiment, never done this before. I have a lot of problems with adhesion of paint to metal tracks. I never washed these previously, but this is a method that you use when you burnish the tracks. So I've just got some soapy water, and I'm just going to give these a bit of a scrub, just an attempt to get the grease and any other sort of residue off the tracks, in the hope that the primer will stick to them a little bit better than it does previously. I have had the problem before of paint adhesion, primer adhesion, whatever. So it's just a bit of an experiment. So give these a wash, let them dry, and we will go on to the next stage, priming. Okay, at last we're ready for the base coat priming. Call it what you will. It's going to serve two purposes. First of all, we need to get coverage on these metal tracks. It is really difficult. I do not recommend acrylic. However, maybe the acrylic primers, styling res, that might work. Not too sure, never used it. Another really good product for doing this is automotive spray primer out the can. That is pretty good, pretty easy, pretty quick. However, you're limited in colors. So we're going to use Mr. Hobby, Mr. Finishing Surfacer. These are primer paints. I'm going to use two, basically so I can blend it. This is going to be not only the primer that gets coverage on the metal, but also it's going to be our base color. So we're going to mix up a ratio about maybe 75% of this brown, mahogany brown, and then we'll add a bit of black to darken it out. Mix in the leveling thinner, we can get airbrushing and coating these tracks. Let's get on with that now. Okay, first stage complete. Primer applied, or the base coat. Quite a nice attractive color, looks like a deep base. Match it with what sort of deep base color you want yourself for your model. But these are basically ready to go. They dry nearly instantaneously, but you know, just for safety's sakes, we're going to give it about 30 minutes and then go straight on to the next stage. Oh, just a point to note as well, no matter what, the finish is extremely delicate, and we just can't avoid it. Even when there's just been the sort of minimum amount of contact on, let's say, these guide horns, the paint just rubs off. Instead of trying to fight it, we'll work with it and use it to our advantage. I'll explain that a little bit later on. Okay, the next step is going to be acrylics. Acrylics just for speed, convenience, and yeah, why not? I'll show you a different method some other time using different maybe enamels or oils, but this really is quick. Okay, not necessarily, we don't need a rust effect set or anything like that. We just need rust-like colors. Again, this is just for convenience. In this example, we're going to use ammo of MIG Acrylics. What we're going to do is select 3 colors. It's a lot easier when you have these sets, of course. Right, we've got a light rust, rust tracks, and medium brown. Okay, maybe we'll get another color in there as well. Maybe that medium rust might be better. Okay, the thing is here that what we're going to do is add variation. These are all looking pretty much the same. Check your references, have a look at tank tracks, see how they vary, see the varied tones. Now, depending on what you wish to depict, as in your subject, the rust concentration of like this light rust, this yellowy rust, is going to vary. Basically on vehicles that have not moved, they really get that deep corrosion. On vehicles that move a lot, you don't see a lot of this. You don't see this like they've been sat there a long time. And then of course what we've got something in the middle. It's basically a vehicle that's moved quite a bit, but also it's been neglected somewhat. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the light rust. We're going to use a medium brown, and then go on to a sort of darker brown to top things off. And we'll sort of adjust and maybe mix up the tones as we move along, just seeing how things turn out. So let's get straight onto that right now. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to start with the lightest color and work up to the darker tones. Because the tracks are obviously made of these small little links, lots of little nooks and crannies, I found a way that you can really quicken up the application procedure. And in fact, we're not even going to use a paintbrush. If you've got one of these foam, I think these are keyboard cleaners with foam, or just some packing foam, these are our paintbrushes. What we need to do, we need to dilute this down first of all, and we're just going to use plain good old tap water. That's all we need. So we're going to make up a mix of the paint and add in some water. There we go. Nice fluid wet mixture. There we go. Okay, now to get this to flow, there's a couple of ways to do this. The long way is using a paintbrush and applying it individually into the track links. It takes a really long time. However, what I've got a mixture here of water and dishwater soap that is going to break up the surface tension. So all I'm going to do is just spray this on the tracks. Like so. Then we're going to go on with our dilute mixture and just start dabbing on. You can randomize the mixture. You don't need to actually have it everywhere. It's up to you how you want to apply this effect. Remember, this yellowy rusty stain is depicting, you know, very high wear. You won't really see it, so we're going to sort of build up layers as we go through. Disadvantage of this is drying time, but again, we've got another hack for that that's going to speed things up considerably. So let's get all this on. As you can see, I'm just going to do everything as it happens just to show you how quick this is. The only thing I'm going to cut out is that you can see on one side I've done the individual track, the facing portion of the track, and here's the inner portion. So I'm simply going to do, just off camera, I'm just going to repeat the process. Okay, so first thing to do, just get a cloth, paper cloth, whatever, start dabbing away the excess. Just want to remove as much as we can. Remember, we're going for speed this time. So start soaking up the excess, and then I'll show you the next stage. Okay, to further accelerate the drying time, hairdryer, the cheapest hairdryer you can possibly find, comes in really handy for modeling. So let's just get on with that and let's get these dried off and see what it looks like. Okay, dried most of this, not entirely dry, doesn't honestly matter at all. I'm going to use a bit of wet and wet as well for the next stage. But can you see the film, the sort of film of rust that's been applied all over the track now, starting to build that up. I'm going to build that up with 3 more layers. So we'll repeat the process, as simple as that, okay? Wet it down again using our mixture of water and detergent. It's just dish soap, yeah, just some dish soap just to quicken up this entire process. And you don't need to be shy when you apply this stuff as well. Maybe I should have emphasized it on the first part, but the most important bit is just to apply this stuff dilute, as in at least 50-50 of this mix, be it craft paint, be it Vallejo, be it Ammo of Mig, doesn't really matter. Don't really need too much. So there's our paint. So it's sort of like an orangey sort of brown now. There's our mixture. And again, we're just going to repeat. I'm going to show you now, this time just using a piece of like packing foam, because you may not have those. And this, I think, is going to be even quicker. So there we go, just straight on. Just dabbing it on. Multiple variations of this, of course, but I'm going to follow the rust then dust, okay, as you'll see in a minute. But you can mix all sorts of different ways to do this. In fact, a much superior method is to actually take your time with this, but I'm just showing you just basically how quick you can come in here and do this. So let's go wet in really some areas, do the opposite sides. Okay, and again, I won't show this bit, but basically what we're going to do is dab it all off, hair dry it, and I'll just show you what that looks like in 1 second. Okay, so that's that mid-tone applied. See, it's a film again, just building this up. Remember, we're not doing crusty rusty, we're not doing texture here, we're just doing like a film of rust. The vehicle is still operational, albeit in a bit of a degraded state. Okay, let's go on that final tone now. Let's do the darkest tone. Okay, final tone, as I said, the darkest one. Use this medium brown tone. Remember also, you can make it up with your own mixtures as well, so there's no limits here. This time I'm not going to even go in. I've made this even more dilute, and this is going to go straight on without even any of that dishwash soap. And this is going to be a very dilute layer. Just gets dabbed on everywhere. And again, let's dry it off and see what it looks like. Okay, these are nearly dry. And there we are. That is basically our sort of composite rust layers applied. Why do we apply 3 tones? We wanted to vary the appearance. You can see that it's just by the nature of using that sponge, we've got different concentrations of the orange, the darker brown, etc, etc, etc. Of course, this is not the end. You can go back with your lighter. Like I said, if you want to go for extreme wear, go back with your light one, hit it again, vary the appearance, go for whatever taste you wish. Okay, let's go on to the dust effects right now. Okay, a weapon of choice for the dust effects are the liquid pigments from Life Color. I don't know of any other similar products, but there maybe are some out there. However, what are these and why do I use them? Okay, unlike paints, these are pigments in suspension. So we all know about our dry pigments, which are like powders that we can apply on dry or wet. These are pigments already in a solution. Now that sounds exactly like paint, however they're held in a suspension, and as they dry out they really create some very, very nice effects. I promise in the future I'm going to try and make some myself. I've got a good idea on how they make them.
So what we're going to do is choose two colors out of here. We'll choose this light earth, this sort of like very, very light tone, very high contrast, and also this dark dust tone. I think we'll go with the dark dust first, or should we go with the light earth? Anyways, regardless, whatever you use for your dust effects, try to remember what you use, because you're going to use them in a similar manner on the bottom part of your vehicle. So try and tune in your weathering. But anyways, this is about tracks. Application again, why don't we just go again with using a sponge? It worked out so quick, so fast. In this case, we're going to dilute this a little bit less than we did with the paint, just because it's already in a suspension and you really want these pigments to flow quite nicely. But however, we will again apply our dishwasher soap solution. This is, by the way, this is our thinner. This is what this is. This is the thinner for acrylics. Water is all you ever need. There's no need for thinners. There's no need for any chemicals here. So we've got that on there. Let's make up a solution. What should we start off with? The light earth would sort of naturally sort of appear on top of a darker color, but we're going to do it the opposite way around, because I just don't want that to be an overwhelming contrast. First thing to do as well is agitate these up, because they are the pigments, you need them all mixed up. Okay, let's get some of this inside here, like so. A few drops of water, that's all, just a few drops of water. So they're about 30% mixture. And yeah, hell, why not? Let's just go in with the sponge again. It seems to be working out really well, and it just seems to quicken things up. So here we go. Again, like I said, you can randomize the appearance. If you want to go heavy in one area and then lighter in another, by all means, that's, you know, entirely up to you. I'm going for like basically just a constant film of dust on top of these rusty tracks here. Rusty as in operational tracks, not an abandoned vehicle. Remember, if you've got an abandoned vehicle, you may actually, you probably won't be applying dust, because if a vehicle's been sat for a really long time, exposed to the elements, rain just washes everything off. Check your references as usual. Anyways, this application is working out wonderfully. Look at that contrast that we've got there. This is going to look absolutely great, I guarantee it. Remember, quick and simple. I really want to try and make these myself. I have tried using pigments in water. Just doesn't work the same for whatever reason, but I've got a good idea on how we could do this in the future. And the reverse portion, just sort of blotted this on. You're going to get a bit of tide marky type effects here, just the way it is. But don't worry, you can use that. We'll use that, okay? Okay, let me repeat on here. I'll use the same drying procedure. Actually, no, I will not use the same drying procedure. I'm not going to blot this off at all. I do not want the pigment being absorbed by any towel. So there's two ways to do it. The hair dryer, which is what I'm going to use, or just let it dry naturally. If you, like I said, if you start blotting away, you're going to remove pigment, and we want that pigment to stay where it is. So let me just come back in a second and let's see how that looks. Okay, that first layer is drying quite nicely. Again, different patinas appearing. I'm going to show you a variation now. Up to you again if you want to depict the worn, exposed faces of the track contact points. Two ways to do this. Actually, there's a few ways to do this, but one of the most simple is, of course, to take advantage of the metallic nature of the tracks and just simply get some emery paper and just look at how quickly we've exposed the metal. I'm not going to go everywhere. I'm going to Just going to try and randomize it somewhat a little bit, okay? Now, it's so stark and so bright that I'll adjust it somewhat by applying the final dust layer on top of this effect. It'll still be shiny, believe me, but it's just, to me, a little bit overpowering, to be honest, when it's just so bright against the model. It's sort of like the scale effect thing. So anyways, I'm not hitting everything. I'm trying to do light passes with the emery paper. I've seen some really weird stuff about like how rubber wheels contact the inner portion. Again, check your references. There isn't any like rubber marks that appear within the center section of tracks, so I just don't follow that. Okay, so there we've got our worn appearance there. We've got our patina. Let's apply the final dust layer just to tone that down a little bit, and then I think we are done. Okay, I've made up the dark dust, exactly the same mixture, basically 30% water. Again, we use this sponge, it just is so quick, and instead of pre-wetting the surface, we've got enough binding material now on here, and again we'll dab this on and we'll see if we can tone down the contact points a little bit. Just makes them a bit more pleasing to my eye. I know that they do appear very bright in reality, just on scale models, when you've got that, yeah, contrast is great, but when I see the contact points so bright, like chrome metallic, to me on a scale model, it looks a little bit out of scale, let's just put it that way. So there we go, random. Of course, this isn't the be-all and end-all of track weathering by any means. Just do the inner faces again, just give these a quick pat down. It's been difficult to get the wash to go into the very center portion where these guide horns are, but that's it. Where you've got these tide marks as well, just take your other area of sponge and just sort of start blending it out. It tends to help a little bit, but I don't mind the tide marks too much. I've started to learn to think that they're part of the weathering. Let's go down here, hit this dark dust again. The only thing is with this, it's not really that much of a contrast between the light earth, the road dust. They're very similar in tone, but the pigments, I'm going to show you close up pretty soon once it's all dried, show you how they dry, how they look. I'm just going to make one experiment. I just want to bring back a bit of the rust tone, and I want to bring back the high contrast light rust. I'm going to add it into the mixture of the road dust. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going on to the final stage now. What I've done, I've made up an oil wash, basically very dark oil, a little bit thick. Use some enamel thinner. Enamel thinner will dry quite quickly. Or you can use terps, of course. What we're going to do, we're going to put some depth into the tracks. I've already sort of started here. As you can see, what you're doing is just applying the wash neat all over the tracks. Why are we doing this? Well, we've got an overall, I'll just show you the appearance at the moment. Looks really pretty good, but also a little bit flat as well. So we're going to try and get some depth into those track links just by doing this. Application's a little bit slower, of course, but the reason we're using an oil wash is the acrylic. If we use acrylic, if we try to make it a dark acrylic, everything will just go entirely dark. With the oils, it'll sort of seep into the details, as in the recesses and form a dark shadow around them, which is the look that we are after. I am trying to avoid the pin connections as well. The oil and the thinner will not damage the resin whatsoever. However, it could lubricate those openings, and then it could make it a little bit more liable to fall apart, which, as I've mentioned several times, is one of the disadvantages with these Masterclub resin pin tracks. Okay, let's just continue with that, show you what it all looks like, dry it all off, and I think we're just about done. Okay, let's conclude. After about 12 hours, the oils have dried. I think this is the sort of transformation point from before. It was like very rusty, looked like it hadn't moved. Now I would call it like a live track, like, you know, not like great condition, but these things do get rusty. But look at the variations in tones now that we have. So much patinas. Still got the metallic effects there, but they're rather subdued. They aren't glistening or anything. Look a bit more in scale. Kind of interesting as well because of those pins as well. You get like nice wash effects around the pins and so forth. I tell you what, let's just wrap this up now. Show you macro as well, and just talk a little bit more. I'll just show you macro, how they look up close, because that's kind of interesting. Okay, there we go. There were macro. You can see really nice and close up all the detail. Remember, you can go in, you can do so much more with these if you want texture, add pigments. We'll go on all sorts of different things, but I hope it gave you a good sort of overview of the Masterclub tracks, how you assemble them, and really a quick, easy, efficient weathering process that didn't take much time at all. I think the results look pretty nice. I'm quite happy with them, fit my subject quite well. Other points as well, yeah, I think we should do this on plastic as well, to show you that plastic tracks can be just as good as metal tracks. One of the advantages, of course, with using these Masterclub tracks, or the Fruils as well, is when you want to get detail into, say, portions underneath a vehicle, as in our BMP2 example, or on the Krog that we shall continue with. Anyways, guys, let's wrap this up. Thanks so much for your support, and see you in the next one. Let's come to fitting the pin. Ah, he drops it. Blooper. Oh, blooper.